Today I'd like to talk to you guys about a special topic, but okay, I guess I should tell you what the topic is. Today we'll be talking about essentialism. What is essentialism? It's a word that, in the past year, if you're watching this in 2020 or 2021, you've heard this word used over and over and over again. The word is essentialism. And you read on government websites where they say non-essential travel is not allowed, and one question we've all had to ask is what does non-essential travel mean? And in the beginning of the pandemic, we learned that non-essential travel meant going outside not to buy groceries and to go to work. Anything else other than that is considered non-essential. And we learned about essential workers. These are the people that do some of the most important work in our lives, doctors or nurses, grocery store workers, people who work at energy supplies and all those good people who do everything, our first responders. We learned in that time that a lot of things are not important. It's not important, if you whatever you do that like entertainment is not essential. Things like going shopping, it's not an essential thing. Retail, some forms of retail are not essential things, and we had to prioritize the most important things. And yeah, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. But we're not talking about the pandemic. I'm not what do they call it, qualified personnel to speak about it. But before we go any further, man, if you enjoy this type of videos and if you want to see more from me and you like to support me, please subscribe, comment, and leave a like. It helps the channel to grow, and it helps for the content to reach people who need this and people who need this information. All right, so without wasting much time, I want to talk about essentialism. And according to a quick Google search, essentialism is the view that every entity has a set of attributes that are necessary to its identity and function. So it says what in early Western thought, Plato's idealism held that all things have such an essence. And from this we learn like one of the most important things about essentialism is to a human being, to yourself, to myself, to a YouTube channel, to a business, to everything. There are very few things like attributes, like certain things that we do that matter. A lot of things don't. So like as a human being, it matters that you sleep enough, it matters that you eat enough, it matters that you work, because out of work you're able to pay your bills, and that's essential to your survival. Like that's all you need. Like you need a job, or you need a company, you need a source of income, or you need food. But by food you don't need, there's what you need and then there's what you want. And in life we end up bombarded by a lot of things that are non-essential. And as we go back to the intro that I gave, when you look at in this year, we've been taught what is essential and what is not. We learned that going to concerts is not an essential activity. It is essential for an artist because that's how they make money, but for us it's non-essential. It doesn't matter whether you are at a Beyonce concert or not, and that's something that I feel like is valuable and something that we've been missing a lot. And that's one of the positives we can take from this year, is to become essentialists. Is to choose in your life like what is essential for you, and you have to come to an impasse to say wow, what have I been doing that's non-essential, and you find that we live in an age and time whereby it's very easy to be, stressed out and depressed because you don't have certain things that you desire. You don't have the freedom and access to certain things that you wanted. But one of the main things that you have to ask yourself is that thing really an essential need? And can you live your life without? We are all always constantly under pressure from society. When you look at how society perceives us, like, oh, by the age of 20 you should have done this, by the age of 24 you should have done this, but the real question is that really essential to my development? And when we start to look at life from a perspective of what's really essential and what's not, and why should I bother in things that are not essential to me? It's like when you're growing up and your friends are like, oh, we're going to the club today, and you go there under peer pressure. But imagine if we knew, like, okay, how, based on my goals and whatever that I want to achieve in life, is it an essential activity for me to go to the club or to do whatever else we put pressure amongst ourselves for? So within this concept of essentialism and why it's very important, it helps you to declutter your mind and to free your mind, because a lot of times we spread ourselves too thin over things that are not necessary. When you look at the rise of consumerism in this day and age, you see that we've been purchasing things that are non-essential. I looked at my shoes, like, man, I have whatever amount of pairs that I do have, but was that really a necessity? When it comes to shoes, you basically need your everyday shoe, and then you need, if you train, you need your running shoes, and then because we live in a cold weather climate like I do, you also need like your boots. That's essential. So like 3 pairs and maybe a formal shoe for formal event, 4 pairs of shoes. Outside of that, you don't really need everything else. Sometimes you may feel like, oh, I want to be different, but at the end of the day, it ceases being about you, because those shoes are not essential. But that creates stress in your life, because when you buy the shoe, let's say on credit, what tends to happen when you choose to do things that are non-essential is, like in economics, they speak about the law of in order to get something, you have to give something up. So when you choose to buy a pair of shoes that you don't need, you give up, buying food or doing something that was essential for you, like an investment in a course for the development of your career. You've forgone that because you bought a pair of shoes. And the worst part, especially living in the Western societies, is we buy things on credit. So when you buy something on credit, it means that credit could have been used for something else, but now you have to pay back that credit. And worse, if God forbid you get interest charged on your credit card, then you've forgone a lot of things, and you end up in a situation where you have things that you do not need and that are non-essential to your life, and now you have to pay for that, and we end up stressed. So this concept of us going essentialism, like doing things that are simply essential, it's something that I believe that can benefit a lot of us, especially young people, as we're growing up, to say, when I turn 40, this is the type of life that I want. What are the essential activities to achieve that? Do I really need to be married by the time I'm 40 to have a life that I see for myself or want for myself, that I feel is my purpose? Or are we looking at life and saying, man, I also want that car, I also want a wife, I also want kids, I also want this, but is it really essential in your life to have those things? We have to ask ourselves these questions and say, what is really necessary for me to achieve the things that I want to achieve? And I think that once we start to live our life based off of that, then a lot of things are simplified, because when you look at some of the things that we carry in our lives, like, oh, I need a huge apartment downtown. Do you really need that? Is it really an essential cost to add on yourself? And you have to think about this. You have to think about what is essential to you. Because, if countries and the world could benefit from us saying only essential activities are allowed, and you saw what happened for a period of 6 months where lives were changed and we really learned what was not essential, ask yourself, in that period of time, where did you go? Whilst also I understand that it is necessary for us to do activities outside of those that are essential. I think the more we minimize those things, the more we're able to free up the one thing that we all seem not to have in most cases, and that thing is time. So it's a fleeting resource that needs to be used in a way that we maximize what we get out of it. And I believe that by pursuing essentialism, we are able to achieve that. Let me know, guys, in the comment section what you think about the concept of essentialism, and it's something that I'll be doing further research and bringing this information to you guys. The more I learn, the more you learn, and the more we can change our world. And please subscribe, comment, and like the videos. It really helps with YouTube. This is not our platform, but there's a platform that we can educate each other and learn. So with that said, thank you. Peace.